You understand that?
Yes, sir.
If any of you break the rules, my rules, I have no choice but to remove the offender for the good of all the rest of us. Yes, I could forgive the transgressor, but it would be like leaving a rotten piece of fruit in a barrel to spoil everything around it. It's not fair. You come to show you this. This is a traveling pass. Noah confessed it was forged for him by Kizzy. It's a copy of one Miss Ann gave her. All right. Noah's been sold off. What's left of him? And Kizzy?
Oh, God, no. No, Massa, you can't sell Kizzy to. No, Massa, not my baby, not my child. Oh, Massa, no, not my child, not my baby. Massa,
Yeah.
Massa, beat her. Do anything you want to her. Anything, Massa. Tear the skin off her worthless hide. She an awful nigger to do such a thing, Massa. Please, Massa, in the name of Jesus, have mercy. Me and Toby, we give you our lives, Massa. Massa. 40 years, Master. 40 years I serve you. Don't I God but
Tell you
stop.
for doing your job. She disobeyed the rules. She has to suffer the consequences.
Greetings once again. We are back moving right along. We have done North Carolina. We have done Alabama. And now let's take a look at Georgia in the same year that Alabama passed it in 1833. If you don't know, my name is Amuni Israel. I'm sorry about that, by the way. And this is Solonomics 101. And we were coming live with the beginnings of the Lev Project, which is going to launch on the 1st of January, where we're going to read some narratives from some slave narratives. And so right now we have been going over certain laws that were passed at a very important time where there was a lot of, this particular one is going to be, we're reading for, this law is the Georgia state law. This is 1833, the same year, like we said before, the same year that Alabama passed their law. 2 years before that, North Carolina passed their law to prohibit reading. A lot of abolitionist material was going around. A lot of people protesting the institutions of slavery. And so we see these laws manifesting and going on the books. So in 1833, in Section 18 of the Georgia Codified Laws of Slavery, it says, if any person shall teach any slave, Negro, or free person of color to read or write, whether written or printed characters, or shall procure, suffer, or permit a slave, Negro, or person of color to transact business for him in writing, such person, so offending, shall be guilty of a misdemeanor, and on conviction shall be punished by fine or imprisonment in the common jail of the county, or both at the discretion of the court. Section 19. If any person owing or have in his possession and under his control any printing press or types in this state shall use or employ or permit to be used or employed any slave or free person of color in the setting up of types or other labor about the office requiring in said slave of free person of color a knowledge of reading or writing, such person so offending shall be guilty of a misdemeanor, and on conviction shall be punished by a fine not exceeding $100. So we see Georgia very concerned about the people who are teaching, the teachers. I didn't see any lashes here in Georgia as it was for the slave who was getting in trouble, so to say, breaking the law by reading or writing. But it's talking here about in Section 18 that the person who's teaching the slave, the Negro, or free person of color to read or write in printed, basically the printings, like we said, a lot of abolitionist material are going around, and they're afraid that the message is coming and that this is going to cause an uproar amongst those who you're oppressing. And so either they're going to give them a fine. They didn't tell them how much, but it says it's not to exceed $100. And you can't employ them to work in your print shop, like in the case of Frederick Douglass when he went to the North and he worked and learned typesetting and printing. They didn't want them to acquire the skills. So that was Georgia. So I found for Georgia an updated part of their law here that an updated portion of it says Section 2 minor offenses, they call it. So the updated from the one that I just read, which actually they first came out in 1833. I believe this updated version was 1848. So it's says punishment for teaching slaves or free persons of color to read. If any slave, Negro, or free person of color, or any white person shall teach any other slave, Negro, or free person of color to read or write, either written or printed characters, the said free person of color or slave shall be punished by fine and whipping, or fine or whipping, at the discretion of the court. So that was the judgment. That was the first thing that we read, was their law, that their law, that you shouldn't do it. And this is the punishment if you do it: fining, whipping, or fining and whipping, by the discretion of the court. So they didn't give an amount of the fine as did North Carolina and Alabama, and they didn't tell you how many whips you were going to get, which is very interesting. So that was the updated version of what we just read. Once again, we're going over some of the forgotten laws. We're going to go deeper, but for right now I'm just picking out this. Different states had codified laws, and that's how each state dealt with the situation. And so join us next time. We will be coming on January the 1st, reading first from 50 Years in Chains, and then from there we're going to read 2 chapters a day. We're looking for volunteers to read. And after the reading, we'll have discussions of what we have just read and how we feel. And it's basically a great exercise to learn, meet, and grow with one another through this very real history that we often brush over. So until next time, my name is Imuna Yisrael. 1.